Hello and good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Psychic Brunch with me, Inbaal, and Laura Daligan, who is not available now. Instead of Laura, I have got a superstar standing in who will take us through this morning, through this brunch time, together with me. Put your hands together for the wonderful Tor James Faulkner joining us
Surprise,
now.
surprise.
Oh, wow. You always have the right line to sing. Good morning, Tor. How are you?
Good morning, Inbaal. I am absolutely fantastic this morning. How are
Welcome to
you? It's so
Psychic
good to see
Brunch.
you.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you. I love
fabulous. Thank
Psychic Brunch.
you. Psychic Brunch is the best kind of brunch.
Mm,
Yeah, no, I'm fabulous. I have been so hard at work that I'm a little bit confused and sort of
me too.
overwhelmed. Yeah, you work on several time zones, right? So it's half
Yeah.
past 11 in the morning now where we are. We're coming at you
hmm
live from the UK. You might be watching us on other parts, but with all the time zones you work at, what like UK times were you giving readings in the last 24 hours? I don't want to say today because some of them were like yesterday.
Yeah, I've basically been working since 6 p.m. last night.
Right.
All the way through. Had a little time with my boyfriend, back to work. Um, so doing readings at like 3 a.m. UK time, 6 p.m., right up until just before 8 a.m. And then I was getting ready, for psychic brunch. What
Yeah.
about you? What time zones you been giving readings in? Because I know that you've been doing different time zones the past few hours as well.
Yeah. So on Sunday, I was covering the Super Bowl, and so I was up all night for our time, never slept.
Mhm.
So on Monday, I went to sleep early, got a solid 11 hours, great. But then I'm booked to doing four individual spells and not
Mm.
wanting to pile them on into one night so that each spell gets like my full attention, my full devotion. So I did one on the Tuesday because that was a real like fiery one, and Tuesday was such a
Mhm.
great time to do it. One last night. I'm going to do one tonight. I'm going to do one tomorrow night, which will be Valentine's night. So that will be
Ooh.
for inviting new things, breaking with tradition, not a love spell, but for inviting
Mhm.
new things for somebody. And because in order to do spells, I literally have to wait for everybody in the house to go to sleep, I
Yeah.
don't really start until like one ish. So I'll finish at like half past 2, 3 a.m. So I've had all those late nights and kind of fully booked throughout. I spoke to a lady in Israel this morning. That was the first reading. I'm doing a lot of work with PR brands where I'll kind of analyze things for them and then they'll put it in the paper with their clients. So this whole week was just completely deranged because of the no sleep at all Sunday, very
Mhm.
extremely late nights, Tuesday, Wednesday already been, Thursday, Friday will be. And then I have a radio interview 6 a.m. Saturday, which
6
will,
a.m.
I know,
Is that for
I
the
know.
UK or is that for somewhere else?
No, it's for California.
Oh,
So
so
it'll be
it's
like 10
nighttime,
p.m.
yeah,
there.
Friday night,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I said yes to it. And they're like, can you join us for an hour? And then I got the paperwork and it's like 2 hours. And I was like, do you know what? It's Saturday morning. Nobody in the house is going to wake up before 8. I'll be done. I'll have a nap. But it's just such an upside down week. But I tell you, I love working across different regions. Don't you?
I absolutely love it. I love it to the point that for a very, very long time, my work number was actually a New York number because a lot of
Oh,
so that people in that time zone could call or, interact. Um, in a way that suited them and wasn't, running up their phone bill. Obviously, things are a little different now. That was a few years ago. Everybody has WhatsApp and things like that now. But yeah, so I used to love having the New York number, and I used to love seeing the American numbers pop up on the screen, and it was very, very exciting. So yeah, I absolutely love working in different time zones. It makes me feel like I'm getting a little taste, just a little taste of lots of
Yeah.
different cultures in one day, and lots of different places. And one of the most wonderful, wonderful things about this job and doing readings is getting to speak to so many different people from so many different backgrounds. I absolutely love that part of the job, don't you?
I adore it. And it's almost as good as traveling. Traveling would be
Mm.
like my favorite thing. I love sort of getting into different places and that. But meeting people from the places that I would travel to is such a joy. It's so like satisfying. So yeah, what regions do you speak to overnight? You will have crossed several regions because other people do go to sleep.
Yeah, yeah. India, which is always lovely.
Yeah.
The States, which is always lovely. Australia, I can't remember if Australia was closer to the morning or closer to the evening, but Australia and UK,
Yeah.
so some
Shout
UK people don't sleep.
It's true. Some of
Yeah,
them are on this show, but some of them are, scattered far and wide.
but yeah, so yeah, very, very varied, very varied. I absolutely love it.
That's exciting. Issa is saying happy second brunch,
Hi.
lovelies. Hey,
Happy second
Issa.
brunch.
Let me just sort of read a few of the messages. And then we're going to introduce our topic, which I think is very in keeping with that. So, Mark
Mm.
said, I didn't realize what was written before I put it up. It says, "Good morning, one and all. Good morning, officer." Sandy says, "Hello, blessings." Mark says to
Hi.
you, "Lovely. You should always make time for partners." In a break with
Ah,
tradition, I actually made coffee for partners. I don't know if you saw earlier, but I'm not normally like the kettle
it's
attendant.
normally the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You all blushing there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cor and the boyfriend sitting in a tree. Kissing. First comes sofa, then come. No, I will stop. I will be stopping. Um, and Mark
Scarlet.
says, Mark says by the end of Saturday you'll be walking around like a zombie. Yeah, I'll be running like a zombie. Oh my goodness, do you know what I did yesterday? So obviously I was sort of so shattered, and it was. I've always dreamt in a way of working office hours, because when you do like 24 hours like us all the time, it's such
Yeah.
a fantasy, like 5 o'clock comes and they just stop.
They just
They
stop
all
working.
Yeah. How do people do that? So it's such a fantasy. And a couple of years ago, I was working, like, I was doing a lot of writing on the weekend where I would
Yeah.
get assignments on like a Friday evening. And they'd be like, "Can you get it back to me in a couple of days?" And I'm like, "Oh, you mean Monday morning? You mean you're clocking off for the weekend and you're leaving?" And I'd
Yeah.
have like 5 articles back to back. So at the time, my fantasy was office hours. And because now I work a lot with PR agencies, they work office hours. So yes, there
Cool.
was just a crazy day. There was like request after request. I don't want to say what they are because it's a very secretive industry. But like body language and astrology, and hopefully it'll all come out in the papers in the next few days. And then I sort of, drove to my second job of being mom, and I'm driving them back and forth to gymnastics. And I'm like, done, 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 done. And then I thought, wait, in January, I missed one run. I run every day.
Hmm.
And I had my run yesterday at 11 a.m. with my gorgeous friend Lisa. We were like, goss, 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 run, run,
Hi,
run. And I
Lisa.
was like, yeah, that run from January. So when it was all finished and I drove everybody back and forth and everybody was in bed and I knew I had time before I had to do the spell, I pulled my trainers on. And
Yeah.
husband's like, what are you doing? He thought that's it. He thought I cracked. This is it. We're going to have to ring up the National Health and ask them what to do with it. And I'm like, oh, I'm making up my run from January. And he's like, didn't you say you just had an insane day with work? And I was like, uh-huh. And I went. It was a very slow run. I always do the same route, and it took longer by a lot. But I did do it. And as I'm running, I'm thinking, who is this girl? What is she doing? And should she be manifesting a little bit more sanity in her life, perhaps? But
No,
no,
absolutely not. I'm
overrated.
laughing because I do the same thing. I have a little routine of going to the gym at 5:30 every morning. I take a break from work. I go to the gym for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, just depending. And I have the little routine, and it's exactly the same every morning. If I've missed one, and heaven forbid I miss two, I go round again. I go round the whole routine again, all the machines again to make it up. So
Yeah,
because then I've
no,
not missed one.
exactly. I get that so much. And I was actually thinking, because next week I've got like 3 more runs during the half term when the kids are not at school. So I can kind of fit them in, but I'm not sure what we're doing Tuesday. So I said to myself, if I have to miss Tuesday, should I just sort of go for 2 hours on Wednesday, or should I wake up at 5 to sort of get it in for Tuesday? And I do realize I need to speak to a professional about this, but it's such a joy, and I think you can't compare the endorphin boost that you get from movement. You can't compare it with anything, and how, like, for me, my thoughts completely change in the space of a run. So
Yeah,
it's needed.
it is needed. It is needed, and I think movement is important. It's not necessarily going to gym, not necessarily going run, but movement is important. It's important energetically. It's important, you know, mental health
Exactly.
wise. It's important physical health wise. It just makes such a difference, and it really does boost the energy, particularly if you're going to be doing readings, which is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about starting reading professionally, beginner tips for readings, right? Have I got that right?
Absolutely. Yes. So, in a way, you might have felt as if we're really sort of selling the idea of doing readings for you. It's not. We're just really, really passionate about what we do. And if it is something, and I know that quite a few people watching are also professional readers, semi-professional, wannabe professional, has been professional and moved on. So we just sort of wanted to share some tips that can help get you started if you feel that this is your way. And it's not necessarily an easy way, is it, Dora?
No, it's not necessarily an easy way. It's a lot of hard work. First of all, it's a lot of hard work. Depending on how and where and everything, you don't always necessarily know how much income you're going to have, which is important if you're looking at doing it professionally. You sort of need to have that sort of mindset of, can I live on this money? Can I live if one month it's very, very quiet? So that's something to consider, and it's also it can be, and I mean this in the most respectful way, it can be very, very physically draining content involved because you're using a lot of energy all the time to tune in to different people, and you know, what's the
Yeah, I
first
really
tip that you have
agree.
for us?
So yes, it is sort of physically draining, or it can be mentally draining. Not so much the reading in itself, but maybe like people's expectations of you.
Mm,
I don't know, which one should I start with? I'm actually going to start with something really, really unspiritual. So this morning, I saw that someone I follow, somebody I had a reading with a long time ago, is closing down her practice. It didn't work
Oh,
for her, and whereas I'm sure she's going to be, she's going to have the psychic knowledge that she has to help her, choose the perfect path ahead. And change is inevitable. But I thought that exactly as you said, you've got to be really aware of the financial ins and outs and the financial ups and downs of it. So,
yeah,
my first tip is not spiritual at all. It's kind of a general business tip, but I think it fits so well to this career. Go where the money is. So you
yeah,
could say to yourself, I really want to be like more of a Zoom reader. I love the interaction, but you might be sort of logged on to a phone reading site that doesn't have Zoom options, and you turn out to be really, really popular there. You're not going
yeah,
to quit that and say, I want more of a Zoom thing. No, first of all, go where the money is because you need to live. Or if you're a person of independent means, you're very wealthy and you're doing it for fun, go where the money is because it's a sign from above. So if we
yeah,
just sort of run with the example that you're more of a face-to-facey person, but you find that you get lots and lots of work from voice work, there could
mhm,
be a message there for you. This could be the universe saying to you, your voice is a gift. This could be a message that says to you, record some meditations or offer group meditations as part of your course, or
yeah,
use your voice um, to record like an audio book of what you do. There's a message there. Can you think of another example of going where the money is? I'm not trying to trip you up. I'm just sort of, I'm going to need a second to think of another example. So I thought maybe you have one lined
For
up.
me, well, I very much, would have preferred to do like parties and,
Mm,
stuff like that. It was always a bit of a dream of mine to combine the readings with the performance somehow. So,
yeah.
go to a party, in your gun storm, he's a tarot card, that sort of thing. Um, but what ended up being the money for me, so to speak, was chat readings. So, the way that you chat to your friends in DM, which I'm very, very good at, come DM me and find out. Um,
Number one. Bar
you know,
none.
so that's sort of where the money is for me. I've been busy my whole life doing chat readings, and it's ended up working out very, very well for me because it's meant that it's relatively consistent income, but it's also become very, very I don't want to say easy, but it's very, very easy for me to do
No, but
reading
it fits with your
in
life,
that
is what you
way.
mean. It's
Yeah, yeah.
convenient considering your lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah, I can be rehearsing and spinning around, or, writing a song, or even sometimes playing a video game and be logged on, and people can come, and it's, very, very, very interactive, very chatty. And a lot of the sort of text chat places as well, not all of them, but a lot of them, you can upload pictures and stuff too. So, I can grab a quick picture of like the cards with my phone and send them, and people love that because then they can take that away. They can take the picture of the card
Yeah.
away, and say, "Oh, right, so I got the marriage card. So he isn't ghosting me. He's just busy. Great, because Tor sent me that marriage card." And that's absolutely lovely. And also, a lot of them, the client can keep a record of it. We do email readings very, very often, and it's very
Yeah.
good because people then have a record of it.
Yeah.
They have a record of the text chat. So that's what worked out for me. So, like I say, I would have rather have been, like you were saying, face to face parties, more kind of glitzy, glamorous. But it's become often sitting here in a dressing gown, typing away, chatting away, and it works really well. And you get to become quite good friends with the clients that way too, I
You
find.
do. I really agree. It's so funny because my sort of journey was exactly the opposite. So I think my career had like several distinct parts, but obviously moving to Yorkshire, away from London, away from everything I knew, and having my first baby at the same time, followed very quickly by my second, third, and fourth babies,
Yeah.
meant that my preference was for text and phone readings. Text and
Mhm.
phone, why? The text I can do in the middle of the night. I finish the night feed, I do some text, I go to sleep. It was brilliant. I didn't have to schedule anything. I was always awake. So I could sort of stick to the 24-hour approx, 24 hour to 48-hour return for the text. And I loved phones because I could, sit with a sleeping baby by my side in a dressing gown, sporting that mum that mum style that should be subtitled. Does anyone remember my last shower? So when Zoom became a thing, I didn't have WhatsApp. When Zoom became a thing, I was not into it at all. And then people started booking more and more um, video calls, more and more video readings. And at first I kind of drag myself and try and look all right for them. It turns out nobody cares what I look like. It
Mhm.
turns out that if I'm on my way to a run and I sit and do a reading in my running clothes and ponytail, there's been zero complaints so far. And now my video readings are so my favorite. They're so
Yeah.
my favorite because I get to see people, and sometimes they'll show me like their view behind them. I was doing a reading for a client in Mauritius a couple of years back, and she was like, "Let me just show you out the window." Dream,
Oh.
a
It's
dream.
like taking the chat readings that we were just talking about to another
Yeah,
level, because then it is that sort of, it's almost face to face, but you can still be like, in your running stuff, and
yeah, yeah.
you're experiencing more of their world as well.
But I did not want that at all. It was not my thing. It was, just sort of going by popular demand.
Yeah.
I went where the money is, and it is fabulous. I enjoy it so much. I feel so excited to see sort of people's gorgeous faces. They're there with their own, like, leggings and ponytail, or
Yeah.
straight from the office, or for the working from home. The last video reading I did, no, before last video reading I did, she was sort of where I always see her, and I know that it's like her workstation. And then she moved her duvet to show me the color of her duvet, and I realized that her workstation is actually in her bed, and that's where it's always been. And it never occurred to me. It
That's
never. She was like,
amazing.
I know, so
Mhm.
perfect, such London life.
Love that.
So yeah, so that would be my first tip. Go where the money is. Let me look at a
Go
few
in.
messages that come in, and then we'll have your first tip. So we've got messages from Mark saying, indeed, us that know you know that you go on daily runs. Office hours would be so much
Mhm.
easier for you, but it's not feasible, sadly. Exactly. And when it's winter, I'd rather go for a run in the daytime. So that eats
Mhm.
into office hours anyway. Um, Mark is like, yeah, tips are always good. Obviously, I'm professional in the past doing other stuff now. I had to learn from the get go. So if someone can give advice to others, it's always a good thing. We're happy to share. And he says, Tor, the thing is that some things are easy for one psyche, which isn't for another. And yours is
Yeah.
easy. It's what spirit wants you to do. But then with others, it will be something else. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
very
exactly.
correct. Yeah, very accurate. So yes, Dora, have you got some words of wisdom, a tip to share with us?
Don't copy other readers. Don't copy other readers. And by that, I mean, don't look at their profiles or their, social media or whatever it is and copy it like verbatim and do exactly what they're doing. If one of them's doing this every time they speak, don't do that. It's very, very important when you are working as a psychic to be completely authentic and to be completely yourself. So, Inbal's not going to sit there with a deck of fairy cards necessarily just because I am. And I'm not going to sit here with a deck of Thoth cards just because Inbaal is. I do have some. I love the Thoth deck, but it's not my everyday working deck. So it's very, very important to be authentic so that the client is getting to know you, they're getting to trust you for you and your style of reading and the way that you work. Readers who often fail, this is going to sound a little bit cheeky, but the readers who often fail are the ones who are exactly copying like what they see online, where they're saying, well, so and so said this card means exactly this, so that's exactly what it means. But actually, the cards will bend and change if you are using cards at all. Depending on what cards are around them, what the question is, who's asking the question. So, for that example, that card might not necessarily mean that in this situation, and then you're giving an inauthentic reading, and you're not being authentically yourself. So yeah, I think don't copy. Be fully authentic from the get go is sort of my big tip.
Absolutely. Although I think there is room for sort of being inspired by other psychics. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I started young, not as young as what you started, but I started young in like a psychic fair. And first of all, just being in that energy, being in that environment where it was like, 7 psychics sitting around a room, the readings were out of this world. The readings were bonkers because you've got everybody's energy together. It's just like accurate, bam, bam, bam. It was bananas. Um, but also, at the same time, I I was actually going to give an example how I was inspired by someone, but actually I'm going to give the exact opposite example because he just popped in my head. There was a chap. He was fabulous. He was a palmist. He was fabulous. He could see things in your palm. You wouldn't know where it came from. And it was just so
Amazing.
interesting to have somebody who wasn't like traditional, um,
Yeah.
what do you call it, like a fortune teller thing. It was just a very business-like chap, and he always used to give the same talk. So he would stand with a little poster of the palm because he couldn't use the actual palm that he had. You need the poster. The poster. He used to stand the poster of the palm. He would take a sip of his water like every time before he starts talking, and he would say, "My name is such and such. I'm a palmist. I read palms. I also read tarot." He'd be like, and say what he does. And then he would always go at the end of that intro before going into the lecture, he would go, "Except for mediumship. I'm not a medium."
Mhm.
And for a little while, that was an inspirational thing to me. But very, very quickly, I realized that, if you just open, you can do literally anything. You can do
Yeah.
mediumship under the right circumstances, even if you're not like, fully there. And it influenced me in a sort of in a backwards way, that I thought defining yourself by what you're not is so backwards. Say all the things you do, say all the stuff you do, but then you're putting it in your head that you're not a medium, or you'll be like, I'm not, I don't know, I'm not an oracle reader. I don't know,
Mm.
babe. Just keep trying. Maybe you are. You're putting it in your head, and you're putting it the in the audience's head that you're not something that maybe it'll turn out that you are. And so I very much try in my sort of practice not to say I'm not this, I'm not that, but I think it's also a good tip for life.
It
Don't
is a good
say,
tip for life.
right, um don't say, oh, I never like to drive in the dark. Maybe one day you're gonna have to, and
Mm.
and you're gonna, and you'll find out that you absolutely can drive in the dark. Don't say I never run. I used to never run. I used to find it a very challenging type of exercise. It was a long time ago. Things change, babe. Things change.
Things do
Roll.
change. Things do change, and actually, it's really bad law of attraction slash manifestation to say I don't, I can't, I won't. Well, maybe some things I won't is fair enough.
Mm.
But you know, don't say I can't or I don't. It's really, really bad manifestation and law of attraction, and it will put up, you know, spiritual blockages in life, you know, that you then have to go back and undo.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Or not realize that they're there and just live with them
Mm,
forever, which is,
yeah,
that's the worst case scenario. But yeah,
yeah.
putting up blockages. Um, I think it's the funniest. Like you'll see it for clients, and you'll be like, "Oh, do you always say I don't this or I don't that?" And they'll be like, oh. So so it's kind of a little bit funny when that happens because then it's a release and a relief for them. But I think it's the funniest when you realize about yourself.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll take a turn in life and go, oh, wait, no, I put this boundary. What is this boundary doing here?
Mm,
Why this is here? Why are you here? Ah, I put you here. This is the why.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's your next tip?
So, my next tip is going all the way opposite, and it is walk your talk. Walk your talk, babe. If you suggest for people to have like strong boundaries, exercise, practice strong boundaries. If you create advice for people to use essential oils, use the same essential oils that you suggest. If you send people to practice specific manifestation techniques, get really, really good at them and they will lift you up. That is, I think, true for so many reasons, but just start from the basics. When you give a reading, you receive a reading. Messages that you give to other people are also veiled messages for yourself. If you're starting out in this path and all the clients that come through to you get the same message, leave him, leave him, leave him, leave him, the message is for you,
Yeah.
babe. The
So
message is for you. Yeah,
I'd like to interject there slightly, if I may.
please.
All of last year, and I mean literally from January to December last year, at least once a day, there'd be a message for a client saying, get on the apps, get on the dating apps, get back on the dating apps.
Shut up.
They've stopped this year.
No, it stopped, right? Because when you
Yeah,
listen, they
because when you
stop
listen, yeah,
screaming. When you listen, they stop screaming. Absolutely.
and I'm Scarlet again.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's exactly it. I get I get to tell people lots of times, you really need to sleep more and go back to therapy. Like a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah. Um, but that is one reason. So when you give a reading, you receive a reading. Another reason to walk the talk is because, be real.
be
Of
real.
course, to walk the talk.
Yeah,
Don't expect people to do stuff that you're not willing to do yourself. Don't
yeah.
expect people to commit to stuff that you're not committing to yourself. Have some self-respect, darling. Um, and and I think kind of the final again, there'd be thousands of reasons to walk the talk, but finally, just as the sort of top three, it's your authenticity. It's
Yeah.
your authenticity. You cannot be authentic if you're, abusing synthetic materials and preaching organic living.
Hmm.
Now, how that will not sound authentic, it won't come across authentic. You will feel. like your energy is janky, and and for
Yeah.
good reason. So yeah, that is my tip number two: walk the talk. If anybody watching and wants to share their own tips from their own practice, we would love to hear. um shall I just read a couple of the messages? That Mark says, "Don't copy other readers." Mark nods his head in massive agreement. Neck hurts. They care. They care. You're still recovering. Mark goes, "I was taught as a kid there is no such word as can. There is cannot,
Mm.
and it has can in it, so you can do it." Yeah, my
I
father
like
was a
that.
Virgo. It was, yeah, it was the same.
Yeah.
You know, you you do something. There's no do or do not. You just do. Um, and then Mark goes, "And then look what happened since then." That is exciting. Right.
It's
Let me pull
exciting.
I'll pull you back from the land of blush, and tell us what is your next tip for people starting out or people struggling to gain traction in psychic
In
work.
terms of actually doing the readings and having the knowledge, don't be afraid to go back to basics and don't be afraid to keep learning. We never ever know it all. We never know all the techniques. We never know all the tools. There's always new meanings to discover for the runes and the cards and the shapes in the tea. So don't be afraid to take a step back and go, oh, this is something that I didn't know. Thank you for teaching me that. It might even come from a client. So sometimes the clients will, you know, will bring that out, or there may be a reader themselves, and you talk about it a little bit. Sometimes it comes from other readers. Sometimes it just comes from taking a new beginner's course. And also as an extension to that, don't be afraid to sort of change your practice. I used to be very like, I would never work with angels. I'm not going to work with angels. That's not something that suits me. I work with the Fae and I work with this, that, and the other. And then one day, out of the blue, I felt like I was literally dragged out of bed and I was applying for all different kinds of angel courses. This was a few years ago, and now I'm very angel focused. The
Yeah.
Reiki I do is angel focused. I'm an angelic therapist. All kinds of things like that. So don't be afraid. Like if you feel that pull, whatever it might be, go with it. That's for a reason. That's again that's from above. That's you being taken to where you need to be, what you need to know. So even if you think, oh gosh, I know all about the runes, why would I want to do a beginner's rune course? Because there's something that you don't know that you need to learn. That's why we never know all the things.
That's such a great tip. I love beginners courses, beginners PDFs, um, beginners like master classes, anything like that. But wouldn't you agree that when you really sort of resist something, there is a
Mm.
nugget of pull there already? When you're like, I will never do this, I don't do that. Why do you feel so strongly about it? What
Yeah.
is it that you're refusing to accept? What is the message that
Yeah.
you're not hopping on board with?
They say that with spirit animals and totems sometimes, don't they? Like if it's an animal you're really, really afraid of and there's no like rational reason for it, it's usually because the animal is coming to you in spirit form in some way. That particular animal is sort of sending you some kind of information. And so when you look up that animal and you spend some time researching the symbolism of the animal, for a lot of people things start to make sense then. And also often what happens with that is the fear goes away too. So yeah, I really feel that, where if we're resistant to something or scared of something, it's part of the pull, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, because now you're the angel guy, and you've been the angel guy for 7, 8 years. It's a while. It
Not
must.
not quite. About
It is.
it was during the pandemic, so about half a decade.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good solid start in a career
Yeah.
at any rate. It's a
Mm.
good solid start. Well done.
Thank you.
I think the message we have here, I think Mark is trolling at this stage, saying, poor Tor, blushing so much. Love it. Really happy for you, buddy.
Thank
It's
you.
true. We're so excited for you. Um, and I think if I go for like a final, maybe sort of third tip for today, it
Mm,
will be um, keep pushing forward, keep pushing, keep pushing. So we're making it sound like, really spiritual, like you can sit on your sofa and the work will just come for you, come to you. That is demonstrably not the case
mm,
for the vast majority. I would say close to 100% of people. And any of us that you see like in nice positions, pushed like their lives dependent on it.
yeah.
Apply, pitch, come up with ideas. Do you know, when I started working with like the regular PR brand that I work with, they used to sort of come to me with ideas like on the first of the month, would you be able to sort of do a thing about this planet? Would you be able to do a thing about like maybe a tarot explainer? And within a couple of months, I just sort of took over from that. And I said, do you want me to pitch you? Do you want me to pitch you?
Hmm.
Because I know what people want to read. I know what people want to hear within this space. So I can come up with like loads of ideas. I can come up with like series of things that we can do. And I actually have, with private clients, I have a bit of a block where even like if, say, me and the private client, without naming names, said, we will catch up once a month.
Hmm.
I will not message him to go, do you want to meet this month? I'll wait for him to come to me. But
Yeah.
with more, I suppose, corporate stuff, pitch, 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 like there's no tomorrow. Even at the very, very start, before we had like email and stuff, I would meet up with a couple of friends, photocopy like our party brochure, and send to all the entertainment agents we would find in the actual physical yellow pages.
Yeah.
Definitely done that. We would do that like for days. It would be like, every Wednesday for a little while.
Mhm.
When I was working psychic fairs, one year I had the idea. I was in a Weatherspoons, and they had like a little brochure with all the Weatherspoons that were in England at the time. This is like early 2000s. So there was like 106 of them. And I was like, okay, not liking the number 106, but I photocopied 100 proposals saying, do you want me to come and do some Halloween readings in your pub? With some bits and bobs that I've done, photocopied all of it, posted it with like stamps and everything to
Yeah.
100 Weatherspoons. One got back to me. Oh, it wasn't all Weatherspoons in the country. It was only Weatherspoons like in London or something insane. But yeah, one got back to me. I worked there 3 days. Still remember what I earned. That was an opportunity. It was a lot of hard work to create one opportunity, never repeated, still made up about it. Nobody's going to take back the lovely, lovely money and lovely, lovely clients that I made at that time. So yeah, so that is my tip number 3. Push, 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 push like your life depends on it. Push like it's your job to be successful at this,
Yeah.
because it is.
Yeah. I'd like to extend that tip
Ooh.
for sort of make your own work. You might not be
Mm.
able to create a website for whatever reason. They can be expensive. It can be fiddly to do yourself. If you're a brand new psychic, you might not be able to apply for some of the places. Some of them require over half a decade's amount of work, or sometimes a decade. Make your own work. There are jobbing websites and jobbing apps where you can throw up a listing for whatever you want. You can do it in tiers. You can do all kinds of things. And what that's going to do is you're going to have experience running your own business, number one, which is super duper important. because we are freelance slash self-employed. Number two, you're going to have reviews, which you wouldn't have if you were completely brand new and trying to get on, a phone line or something like that, where they do require experience. So you're going to have reviews to be able to show people, photocopy everyone, even the bad ones, even keep the bad ones. You might not necessarily put those on the CV necessarily, but keep them, because sometimes, just sometimes, there's a little nugget of tip in there. And you will get clients for life from places like that, where you're throwing up job listings yourself. You're going to get clients for life, because the people who are drawn to you are your people, and
Yeah.
they'll be your psychic lobsters, so to speak. But what I wanted to say for my sort of final tip was, don't be afraid to ask for advice. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Most people who are in this genuinely will happily, like today, give you a few pointers, give you a few tips, and if they don't know, they'll say, I don't know. This has been a couple of times people have, you know, got in touch with me about psychic fairs and stuff, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I don't know, because I didn't do the psychic fair scene. But Inbaal has. She's done psychic fairs. So don't be afraid to ask for advice, and as an extension to that, don't be afraid to share if you're already working. There's room for everybody. Every psychic, every reader is going to be a little bit different, and that's what makes it fantastic, because it might be that you even, as a client, go to two or three psychics. Maybe Inbal's better for you at business readings, and maybe Tor's better for you at readings about love, or the other way around. So it's just, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for advice, but don't be afraid to share, because there's room for everybody.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think in a way that's like a trinity of advice. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. Don't be afraid to share the advice. And
Mm,
also for the clients, don't be afraid to tell your psychic that you went to another psychic.
mm,
That's really, really cool. You can get your coffee from different places.
yeah,
There's a different relationship that you would have with different energy workers that doesn't need to be, it's not like a hairdresser, it's got to be
yeah.
the same all the
Sometimes
time.
I say to people, look, if you're not 100% happy with the reading, or if you're not 100% believing it, go get a second opinion. Go ask somebody else. I'm happy to suggest a whole list of, psychics that I know who are really, really good. I might not be the psychic for you. It might not 100% be gelling. Absolutely no problem at all. No
Yeah,
problem at all. I won't take offense. I know Inbal will not take offense, and
not at all.
most of us won't. Most of us won't, because it's a little bit like, I always see it as akin to like a doctor or like a counselor or something. It can take a little bit of time to find the right one, and it's not always going to be the best fit, you know, um, because there needs to be a little bit of rapport there, I think. Especially if it's a long-term person, who's coming regularly.
Yeah, yeah, I really, really agree with that. And I think actually, if we add to that, if your psychic does respond in a really weird way, if you say you've been to somebody else,
Mm,
that is your red flag. That is your
yeah,
red flag, because the vast majority are wise enough to know that you could get sort of different readings from different psychics, and
hmm,
B, confident enough to know that their work is good. They put out good work. And so it means that if you went to somebody else, you had your reasons. The reasons are not because they're not good, or
yeah.
or because you're not happy with them. Um, we actually have a fabulous tip from Sandy. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
And Sandy says, keep a journal of your readings. This is something that I personally really struggle with because I'm Pisces. So I just sort of channel as I go. But I certainly, certainly, certainly recommend that at least for the first sort of 10 years of working with the tarot, or even with oracles, you want to keep your card of the day going. You want to take a
Yeah.
card, see what influence it has on you in the day, and that way you learning the card, you're becoming like enmeshed
Mhm.
with the deck. Do you keep a journal of readings?
No, because I'm dyslexic, so
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, but what I do is I'll often, before I actually start the sort of working period, I will take just like a random card for myself, just sort of idly, and often that's where I get the biggest sort of
Boost. Yeah.
boost or information. Sometimes it's information I don't want. Because the cards don't lie, especially when you're doing it sort of idly. So yeah, and I really sometimes I'll take a picture. So like my camera roll is like, you know, cat card, cat card. It's sort of a bit like that. So I guess kind
Brilliant.
of. Um, but yeah, but no, not an actual journal for me because it just that doesn't work for how my brain works. But I do agree that it's a fantastic idea, and I'm also just to put a manifestation twist on that. I'm a really big believer in the manifestation technique called the happiness bank, which is a bit different from a gratitude journal. Some people think it's the same. It's not the same. It's a little bit different. Gratitude and happiness are not the same thing. And I always have to point this out first. You might be grateful for a meal. You might not be happy that you had the meal. Big difference. Big difference. So the happiness bank is at the end of the day, you write down or text to yourself every single thing that made you happy in the day. So it could be, had a nice cup of coffee, had a nice chat with friend, got lots of money from job. Every single thing that made you happy, not the things you're grateful for. And the theory with this is that you're investing the happiness and then you're getting interest back on it. You're telling the universe, I want more happiness, please. And that the happiness comes.
Oh, I love that. I don't know that technique. That is cute. But I really, really agree with journaling as a way of life. And I
Yeah.
think for different people, it'll be different things. And I think in a strange way, the fact that we live on our phones puts an
Hmm.
element of journaling into our everyday life because there's no real need anymore to like delete previous messages like it was when it was like text messages. Now,
Hmm.
unless for safety reasons or whatever, you delete previous messages. um, you can have several years of chats saved,
Yeah.
so you can go back through
I,
the conversations that you've had. What?
I was doing this the other day. I was reading a bunch of our old emails from when we used to email back and forth before we
Oh,
were DMing all the time, and it was just so sweet. And we've not changed at all. It's the same conversations,
it's
same
no, it
French
is.
quotes,
I pop
but
into
it's
the
lovely
email
to have.
sometimes because we used to chat such a lot on email. Then it doesn't matter what I search for in my Hotmail, some of our old emails will come up.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, I could be searching for like, really, what was I searching the other day? It was like a first name or something. I think I was searching for the name Rhiannon because I was looking for an email from a Rhiannon.
We were
Definitely
talking about
some,
Rhiannon from a Big Brother.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
definitely some emails came up. But
yeah.
yeah, so journaling as a way of life is something that is, sort of coming in. But I really, really sort of agree with keeping a dream diary, the
Mm.
manifesting journal, card of the day diary, uh, gratitude journal, and just kind of underscoring your life like that and creating the connection between, like,
Yeah.
your eyesight, your hand, your brain. I think there's a lot of amazing advantages to that. So that kind of concludes my 3 tips for people getting started. Tour's 3 tips for getting started. If we were to do the exact same show tomorrow, we would have completely different tips. So,
We would. We would. Yeah.
yeah, there is a lot in there. There's so much to talk about. Isa says, I need to get back into card of the day. Did it so much in 2023. And how was your development then? Do you feel like you evolved a lot? Do you feel like sort of things changed in a positive way. I think a magic journal is a very valuable thing to have, so that when you do a spell
Yeah.
or manifesting and write down all the details. I certainly used to keep something like that to
I am very big at making sure my Book of Shadows is as up to date as possible, even if I can't read that back. I'm very big on, writing everything down, and sometimes I keep a digital one too, like a
yeah.
digital copy as well as the handwritten copy. So that I have a record of it. And like what I'll do is, again, because I am dyslexic, if I get like some crystals and it comes with like a little slip of this crystal does this, whatever, I'll glue that into my Book of Shadows. Or if I
Yeah.
get like a little card, like if I've bought some herbs from like an online, apothecary or something similar, and they put like a little card in with their information, I'll put that in the Book of Shadows so that it's like, well, these herbs came from this place, and I think it's really important to sort of acknowledge that and keep a record of all that. So yeah, I really really agree. I think the journaling thing is fabulous in general, and we could do a whole show about journaling and all the
Yeah.
different ways that could be beneficial for spirituality.
Absolutely, but not today because we're running out of
An hour
time.
and a half.
Thank you so much for jumping in to be my co-pilot on Psychic
Oh,
Brunch.
I absolutely loved it. Thank you. No need to thank me at all. Thank you for asking me to fill in again. This is the second time I've filled in on Psychic Brunch, and it's been amazing both times. I've really really enjoyed myself.
Thank you. It's a fabulous crowd. Now I've got a week um, without going live because my children are off school for a week, so I can't. So the house is not mine; it belongs to the landlords. But I will see you with Tor on the Monday morning after next week for our lovely show, Predict the Week, where we will be. What are we going to be doing? Predicting the week.
I think predicting the week, yeah. It kind of does what it says on the tin, but we also sometimes have a little topic, sometimes a showbiz topic, sometimes something similar to what we discussed here on the show today, where we look at it from like a spiritual perspective. And then we have a little section where we answer your psychic questions on the show. So yeah, it's a really interesting show. It's most Monday mornings, 9 a.m. UK time. So be sure to follow and, you know,
Like and
notification bell
subscribe and
on.
all that.
Yeah, all of that. All of that.
Amazing. Have a fabulous Valentine's and have a great weekend.
Happy Valentine's, everybody.
Bye.